All right, shalom, shalom to the whole full elect of the nation of Israel, and we're going to start off this lesson by giving all praises and honor and glory to
Yeah.
Yahweh, Hashem, Yahushua, Hashem,
Wadash.
all right, double honors for the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who rule well, who has taught us His word in truth and sincerity, and peace and mercy to the whole full elect that also pushing His word in truth and sincerity across the four corners of the earth, as well as the little amount of sisters that believe. Peace and mercy to you and your household. So, in today's lesson, in today's class, the lesson is going to be based upon Daniel, the 8th chapter. We're going to go into Daniel, the 8th chapter, break it down, and with that, which that chapter deals with history and empires. Okay, history and empires. Hence the title, History and Empire, that Daniel chapter 8. And very good to understand the history, obviously. Like the old saying goes, to know the mystery, you have to know the history. And there's a lot of mystery concerning the Bible. So to understand that mystery, you have to know the history.
Second vision.
In that way, and that's the thing that Christians don't have. They don't have the understanding of the history, and that's why they don't understand the scriptures and don't understand timelines and the Gentiles. Right? They don't understand the whole Gentile situation with the Gentile Israelites. So before we go into the chapter, I want to start off with 2 verses. First verse is going to be Daniel chapter 4, verse 17. So Daniel chapter 4, verse 17, it reads, This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones. Right? So we're the watchers, all right? The men that you see prophesying on all the different street corners of the different provinces and countries across the world. They're the watchers, right? But you have more slack watchers, right, or lazy watchers than you do have prudent and diligent watchers. All right. A watcher was someone who watched out for the city, right, for any invaders, foreign invaders. So you got a lot of prophets that are not warning Israel about the foreign invasion that's about to take place upon them. Okay, so it says this matter is by the decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and set up over it the basis of men. You see? And we're in a kingdom right now that's ruled and set up by the basis of men, Esau, Edom. Okay?
Can I get a quick precept, brother?
Yeah, man.
It's Proverbs 21:16, because you mentioned about the living.
Right.
Just a quick to make things clear, because we're all about clarity, and it doesn't mean that because you're alive and breathing and ordering pizza and Mountain Dew means you're alive.
Just right.
Proverbs 21:16.
Proverbs 21:16, it says, "The man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead."
So it means if you don't have the understanding of the Heavenly Father, right, you're basically dead. So the living that is speaking of is only and solely the man of the Lord. Right? So this is the decree is going to be made known by the man of the Lord.
That's right. That's right.
Thought about that. Thanks for that.
Now I'm going to move from here to Zechariah chapter 1, verse 18. Okay. And it says here, through prosperity shall they be spread abroad. Let me start at 17. Zechariah chapter 1 and 17, and it reads, Cry yet, saying, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, my cities through prosperity shall be spread abroad, and the Lord shall yet comfort Zion, and shall yet choose Jerusalem. And that's what we're waiting for, right? For the Lord to set us up, right, and bring that ultimate comfort and peace to the nation of Israel, starting with the elect, okay, which is that's going to happen by the way of the destruction of our enemies, okay, enslavement of our enemies, and also us being bestowed, all right, when I say us, I say the hopeful elect, I mean the hopeful elect, us being bestowed those righteous and perfect bodies, okay. Verse 18, it reads, Then lifted I up mine eyes and saw, and behold, 4 horns. Okay, now when you go into the scriptures, when you go into horn, it basically represents strength, power.
Power, huh?
Yeah. Let me just get it here real quick. Horn. Now, horn in the Hebrew here is quadaza, or quadaza, okay, and or quadawa, and it means, it says horn, it says of strength, right? So we know that's representing to what? It says here, when you read here, it says power, as you read in the Strong definition. So when we read that Zachariah saw what he lifted up his eyes, he then lifted I up my eyes and saw, and behold, 4 horns. So 4 powers, 4 empires, right, being situated. And it said, yep.
Yeah, no, I was saying, you're probably gonna go there anyways. The Maccabees, when you speak of the 4 generals,
That's right.
They came up with them.
Yeah.
So I don't want to jump the gun. You're gonna go there, right?
Yeah, Khan.
Okay, so I'll
Khan. Yeah. Then lifted I up my eyes and saw, and behold, 4 horns, right? And yeah, and like the brother just said, that also can be linked to the 4 generals being set up under Alexander, his 4 top generals, because he actually had more than just 4 generals. But Cassandra, Ptolemy, Lasamaic, and
Seleucus,
those are his 4 top generals, okay? And it basically divided his kingdom after him. So it says here, verse 19, and I said unto the angel that talked with me, what be these? And he answered me, these are the horns which have scattered Judah, Israel, and Jerusalem. See? So when you go into the 4 ancient kingdoms, okay, being what? Babylon, Persian and the Medes, right? And then the Greek Empire and the Roman Empire, all right? Through those captivities, all right, we were spread. And then you also got to include the Assyrian Empire, right? The Israelites, we were spread out throughout the whole earth, through the 4 corners of the earth. Which was also prophecy for us to be scattered if we didn't obey the Most High's word. All right, so we were scattered under captivity. Okay, and the Lord Yahweh showed me 4 carpenters. Yeah, so that was the point. the point was verse 18 and verse 19. Okay, so now we're going to go into Daniel chapter 8. Okay, so you see here it says vision of the ram and the goat and a goat. Okay, so Daniel chapter 8 verse 1, and it reads, in the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me, Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at the first.
And Belshazzar is the grandson of Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah,
Mhm.
his mother.
It's the same root, same line.
God, that's right. Yeah. And it reads, yeah, because another point to mention is that Nebuchadnezzar, or Chadnezzar, Belshazzar, these were titles. Okay, we had multiple of them. Okay, there weren't actual names, but there were titles. Daniel 8 and 2, and it reads, and I saw in a vision, and it came to pass when I saw that I was at Shushan in the palace, which is in the province of Elam, and I saw in a vision, and I was by the river Ulai. Then I lifted my eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram which had 2 horns, and the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other.
And those two, like a brother, those 2 horns was going into the Medes and the Persians.
That's right.
But the Persians was a stronger force. If I'm not mistaken, it was a stronger force than the Elamites.
Yeah,
the Medes. So the Medes were the Elamites, and the Persians were the so-called Iranians or the Camaranians. Some place in the Bible that word Carmenians.
Yeah,
Carmenians. Is that what it's called, Carmenians?
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty sure it's
Yeah.
Carmenians.
So that's another ancient name of the so-called Iranians or Persians. So the Persians were stronger of the 2. So that's what it says. It was called the Persian Mede, the Medo-Persian Empire.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Because it basically says, and it says, and the higher came up last.
Khan.
Mhm.
So the one that was below
Strong.
came up as a stronger one.
Right, because when you go into the Median Persian Empire, the Medes actually ruled first.
Khan.
And then the Persians, basically like the brother was saying, the Persians overtook the Medes and became a stronger force.
Khan.
Right? So I'm going to read that again. It says, verse 3, Daniel 8 and 3. Then I lifted up my eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram. So this represents what? The Persians and the Medes, which had 2 horns. Again, Persians and Medes. So those are 2 different power structures being set up. And the 2 horns were high, but one, right, because the Persians ruled, they had what? They had 100, Darius had 127 provinces.
Yeah.
You know how big that is, man?
Well, America has what, 50?
Exactly.
It's twice the size of America.
Three times. Almost.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Yep. And it says, so that's what it means when it says the 2 horns were high, right? They're at the peak of their rulership, right? The heights of heaven, basically.
You were kicking ass, man.
Exactly. Yep. Kicking ass, man. Yep. But one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last. So that's the Persian. In verse 4. Oh, actually, let me get this just to back it up here. Daniel 7 and 5, because he had basically the same thing said here. Daniel chapter 7, verse 5, and behold, another beast, right? A second, like to a bear. So in this chapter, Okay, the Persians and the Medes are represented as a bear, and it raised up itself on one side. You see, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth of it, and they said, "Thus unto it arise and devour much flesh." Right. So yeah, that's also talking about the Persian and the Medes, and that's why this bear, right, stood up on one side more than the other. So verse 4, Daniel 8:4, it reads, "I saw the ram pushing westward, right, and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him," right? And the him really goes into Cyrus. All right, Cyrus is what, and we're gonna get that. But basically, the Lord called Cyrus his anointed, right? So that no beast might stand before him, neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand. But he did according to his will and became great. Right. So let's get Isaiah 44. I think, yeah. Isaiah 44. And I'm going to start from 26 and read down to 28. So Isaiah 44 and 26, it reads, "That confirmeth the word of his servant and performeth the counsel of his messengers," right? And that's the Lord, right? We speak as the messengers of the Lord. We speak his message and he performs it. Hence why the messengers, you can also call them prophets. Thus that saith to Jerusalem, right? Not the whole world, but these messages are for Jerusalem, the Israelites. "Thou shalt be inhabited, and to the cities of Judah ye shall be built, and I will raise up the decayed places thereof. That saith to the deep, be dry, and I will dry up thy rivers." And here's the point, verse 28. "That saith to Cyrus, he is my shepherd," right? We call Cyrus as shepherd. "He is my shepherd and shall perform all my pleasure," right? Because under Cyrus, what happened? Under Cyrus, we were able to start the second temple. The reconstruction of the second temple was forwarded under Cyrus. Even saying to Jerusalem, "Thou shalt be built," see, "and to the temple thy foundation shall be laid." See, so this is proof that the Lord is the one who rules in the kingdom of men. Right? He puts the spirit on different kings. He put the spirit on a heathen to prophesy. Right? What's his name? Balaam. Right? He put the spirit on Balaam to prophesy, and he was wishing, and he was basically wishing that he would be able to partake in the blessings of Israel. Let me go here as well. First Ezra 2:1.
Yeah, verse 17 just simply tells us, of Daniel 4:17 tells us that above, trumping the heathen, that the Lord he uses the living, which goes back to the elect. All right.
Come on.
Just want to let folks know, because hey, just like today, if you meet a so-called Ishmaelite, he'll try to say stuff. Oh yeah, we came out of so-called or we were working with the Assyrians and all of this stuff, and we have a role to play. Well, here's your roll. It's being read.
Mhm.
All right, but you're under the living. Anyway, go ahead. Go ahead, brother.
Con. I'm going to pull out this precept here from Pillars of Benjamin. And Shalom to the brothers on the comment board.
Shalom.
It says here, Psalms 75 and 6, for promotion cometh neither from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south, but Yahweh is the judge.
Mm-hmm.
He putteth down one and setteth up another. You see?
Mhm.
So it's the Heavenly Father. So the power that Esau has, the power that the heathens have gotten, and the empires and the rulerships that they've established throughout history, all the way up until now, was
That's right.
given to them by the Heavenly Father. All right. So no one can ever say, okay, that the Heavenly Father was not fair. He gave all nations their time to rule. It's just that the kingdom of heaven, all right, Yahweh's kingdom, which is by default the kingdom of Israel, would be the last kingdom to be established, which would also be the everlasting kingdom. Okay. So this is First Ezra, right? Going into Cyrus, First Ezra, the second chapter, and the first verse, and it reads, "In the first year of Cyrus, king of the Persians, that the word of the Lord might be accomplished, that he had promised by the mouth of Jeremy." You see, that the Lord raised up the prophet, the spirit of Cyrus, the king of the Persians. He made proclamation through all his kingdom, so through all 127 or 26 provinces, declared, and also by writing, saying, "Thus saith Cyrus, king of the Persians, that the Lord of Israel, the Most High Lord, had made me king of the whole world." And really, he was king of the whole known world at that point, because he still had the West. "And commanded me to build him a house at Jerusalem in Jewry." You see, so the Lord raised up the spirit of Cyrus to help basically to forward us building the second temple. So this is what verse 4 is talking about, Daniel 8 and 4, right? "And I saw the ram pushing westward, northward, and southward, so that no beast might stand before him. Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand, but he did according to his will and became great."
Mhm.
Right? Verse 5, it reads, "And I was considering, and as I was considering, behold, and he goat came from the west
Mhm.
on the face of the whole earth, and touch." Go ahead, bro. You can go into
The West is just basically, well, you have to go into I guess First Maccabees,
yeah.
right? Okay, you're gonna speak about Alexander,
Yeah.
who came out of Cyprus and then down to Macedonia,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and this history, like that brother Amath on his opening speech dialogue, he mentioned you must know the history to understand this mystery. So this book was taken out and deemed non-canon because it exposes, right, these Edomites, right, because it's bang on.
That's right.
So we're in prophecy right now. So this basically in the Maccabees it happened. It was prophesied already. So the Maccabees is a speaking of history, right? So, go ahead.
Before I read that, I'm just going to finish this. And then we'll
Okay.
go back right to it again. Yeah, Daniel 8 and 5. "And as I was considering, behold, and he goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth." So, like the brother said, that's Cyprus, linking all the way down to Macedonia, all right? "And touched not the ground, and the goat had a notable horn between his head. Yeah, the reason why he didn't touch the ground is because basically Alexander conquered his whole rulership of that side of the world. It was done swiftly. All right, it was done in a matter of 8 years. He conquered all of the Persian and the Medes areas or territories and made it his empire. Okay, and
he was the youngest conqueror, man. 20 years old.
Yeah, he was young, like 20, 24, something like that.
He ruled for 12 years.
12 years? Yeah,
Yeah, he ruled 12 years.
Before we get some of that history on Alexander, let's just go back one chapter and read the 6th verse, Daniel 7:6. And it reads, "And after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard," right? Another beast like a leopard. And Alexander was known for wearing leopard skin, right? A leopard skin, when you go into secular history. Like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl, right? Because it was his generals. Those top generals basically conquered those different territories of the Persians and the Medes, and basically helped Alexander establish his kingdom, right? And the beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. Again, those 4 heads going into those generals, because now when we get the history, the dominion aspect goes into them sharing up Alexander's territories. Okay, so let me get that right now.
Maccabees, no?
Yeah, First Maccabees. This is why is it not working? First Maccabees chapter.
Yeah.
There we go. So First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 1, and it reads, and it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius of the Persians and the Medes, that he
Chittim
reigned.
is ancient Cyprus.
Yeah, that's right. That he reigned in his stead, and in his stead, the first over Greece, and made many wars and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth. There was a heavy spirit on Alexander. Yeah, put a heavy spirit on him.
And he must make it known that the original Greeks were not Idumeans.
That's right.
The original Greeks were the sons of Japheth.
That's right.
Right? So the Japhethites.
That's right.
Is that the way you say it?
Yeah.
Right. And they came because they were basically Hellenes.
Right. Is that?
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, because I think that area was run by the Etruscans, right?
Fun.
And then they went in there and kicked them all out and started calling themselves the Greeks. Verse 3, it says, "And went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him."
And it's like it's no different today, man. Like you have the Australians, Edomites, they call themselves Australians. They call themselves Americans. They call themselves the small hunters. They call themselves us. So they like doing the kind of thing. That's their thing, because land wasn't given to them, right? They're fugitives and vagabonds, pursuant to Genesis 4:11, right? So they're always hiding under different names, right?
It says, "And went through the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, and so much that the earth was quiet before him. Whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up."
Proud.
That's right. And it says, "And he gathered a mighty strong host, and ruled over countries and nations and kings." And it says, "and kings who became tributaries unto him."
There's no new thing understood, man. That's why the whole world is quiet before who? America. because all those Edomite nations have combined powers and become one, right, under the banner of what? The UN and NATO, which is why the America has the Empire States, right? Empire State is in America.
That's right.
Right?
Mhm.
The same spirit is it's an Edomite spirit, man, to want to conquer and rule everybody, man, for everybody to be tributaries unto them.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah, and that's exactly. That goes back to that blessing, right?
Con,
The fatness of the earth.
con,
So going on now, verse 5. And after these things, he fell sick and perceived that he should die. I think they say that scholars say that he fell with malaria, or
wasn't it her syphilis or something like that?
something like that. I think so. Yeah, something that affects his intestines or something like that.
Mhm.
But he was also known for being a sodomite. He was a
Sodomite.
sodomite too,
Yeah.
you know.
Mhm.
So he probably-
Well, a term for that behavior is
yeah.
called Greek. And you want to do a Greek?
Interesting. Look at that. It says, verse 6, wherefore he called his servants, such as were honorable and had been bid them, or been through brought up with
Brought up.
that had been brought up with him from his youth,
Mhm.
parted his kingdom among them while he was yet alive.
Mhm.
So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bear rule every one in his place. And after this death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them. Many years and evils were multiplied,
In the earth.
and evils were multiplied in the earth. Right, and you can look up the what's it called, the Diaduchi or Diadochi Wars, right? And that basically goes into Alexander and his 4 generals, fighting among themselves, right, to have ownership of his kingdom.
And
Can I believe this
as I
is
said,
quick?
the names one more time: is Ptolemy, Seleucus,
Right,
Asmodeus, and Cassander.
that's right.
All right, so whoever is listening and want to look into those men, right?
That's right.
Yeah. You're looking at-
Hold on a shot. Actually, you can bring in a precept right now. Actually, go ahead.
Yeah. Psalms 40, 49, and 11.
Con,
And going into the history of these people, their inward though is that their houses should continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They all call their lands after their own names.
con,
Mhm. That's right. Whenever they, whenever they become great, the Lord permit them to become great. This is exactly what they do.
That's what he's been doing, going
Mhm.
around this place and name each land after their own name.
Mhm.
You know.
Con. Yeah, and that's why you Africans, you can't be calling yourself Africans. You Jakes are calling yourself Africans,
Mhm.
calling yourself Americans,
Mm-hmm.
not knowing that, like the brother just said, these lands that you live on, they're named after rulers, people who conquered these lands.
Yeah.
So back to First Maccabees, or actually let's go back to Daniel chapter 8, then we'll come back to First Maccabees.
Yeah, you basically covered all those verses from 5 to 8. If they were paying attention, right? You talk about the 4 generals there. Well, you're going to verse 8 of 8, Daniel 8, or you're going to start at 5th verse down.
No, I'm at verse 4.
Right?
No,
Yeah.
5.
No, five.
No, it's 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, read, brother, because it's just basically that history, as Brother Kazak mentioned, for those that are listening. If you caught it in the Maccabees, here it is in a nutshell that the brother's going to read now. That's all I'm saying. Go ahead, brother.
Daniel chapter 8 and 5, and it reads, and as I was considering, behold,
Mhm.
as the he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes, so power,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he came to the ram that had two horns, so the Persians, the Darius, right?
Mm-hmm.
Darius the third, to be specific, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran onto him in the fury of his power. You see, so there was because there was actually Darius, King Darius the third. There were two rivers that separated the Persians and the Medes from the not Macedonians, from the Greeks, or so-called Greeks. Okay, really, the Idumeans. And he basically felt protected and proud that they wouldn't be able to cross that river, right, to overtake them. But there was a different spirit again, there was a heavy spirit on Alexander, right? The Lord put a spirit on him, and what ended up happening is he got through the rivers, and basically they found Darius already basically dead, because he was done in by one of his own people. Okay, so verse 7, it says, and I saw him come. So that's what that means, by the way, right? When he talks about us standing before the river, when you go into it, there's two rivers. Forgot the name of them, but there's two rivers that basically separated the two: the Persians and the Medes, and the Macedonians. And it says, verse 7, and I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram, and brake his two horns, and there was no power in the ram to stand before him, but he cast him down to the ground, and stamped upon him, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hands. That's right. None of the allies of Darius, when Darius had fled, and Alexander ended up taking his family and his children into captivity, the slavery. And Darius kept trying to basically buy over Alexander by telling him that, sending him letters saying that you can rule with me. I won't give you the whole kingdom, but you can rule with me. Basically, Alexander was like, forget that. He was in the spirit of conquering everything. So I'm getting that word choler.
The beginning of the Edomite rule coming in now. Go ahead, brother. Sorry, I didn't cut you there. Go ahead.
Yeah. Choler. That word there in the Hebrew. There is Mada. Okay, and it says to be bitter, to show bitterness, to make bitter, right? To embitter oneself. So basically, you had these letters going back and forth between Darius and Alexander, and they're basically negotiation letters. But Alexander wasn't having anything to do with negotiating. He wanted the whole kingdom. And basically, one of those letters enraged him. When you go into the history, those letters that Darius wrote to him, it enraged him. And that's basically what gave him the spirit to go through that river, right? It even says here, it says grieved and provoked. All right? But the Most High put that spirit on him. And then verse 8, it says, therefore, the he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken.
Mm-hmm.
And for it came up 4 notable ones towards the 4 winds of heaven. Okay? And we should know by now, those are talking about the 4 generals.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 9, it says, and out of one of them came 4 little horns. Came forth a little horn, which waxed exceedingly great towards the sun, and towards the east, and towards the pleasant land. This is Antiochus Epiphanes the fourth. Okay, and that name, all right, Epiphanes, among his generals, all right, and his men, it was known that definition for that word was a madman, all right, crazy, all right, and he was a madman, man. He basically brought all kinds of hell upon the Israelites that were there in the land at the time, right? That's what this pleasant land means. Hence, where you get the history, okay, and the revolt of the Maccabees. So going back to First Maccabees chapter 1 and 10, it reads, "And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been an hostage at Rome, and he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, Let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us, for since we departed from them, we have this much sorrow."
So you have your Jesse Jacksons, your Al Sharpton, right? Your Marsha Lucifer Queen, right? That spirit, it just keep regenerating, man. It keeps coming back.
Right. That's right, man. And that's why we always say that, a lot of these camps have sold out to Esau, these Israelite camps. All right, the same spirit's coming back, man. So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathen. Whereupon,
like a marriage license it's a wicked thing, man, because you don't need a license. It's a God-given right to get married, and marriage means coming together of man and woman, right? But here in this kingdom, you get to get a marriage license. License is when you give it's a sin. Most time you get a license is something to do contrary to the Heavenly Father, man.
That's right.
And marriage is lawful. Man and woman coming together is lawful.
That's right. That's right. And that whole marriage license basically just allows the government to be a third party in a marriage.
That's right.
And only wickedness can come out of that.
Win-lose. Win for the woman and the government, and lose for you, the man.
God. That's right. And it says here, verse 14, whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen, and had made themselves uncircumcised and forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. Now, when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have the dominion of 2 realms.
See, another keeps it at home.
That's
Like
right.
here, it's like that covetous spirit jumps on him, man. Right? Well, I can have that too.
Right. Actually, let me get that since you quoted that. That's a perfect precept for that. Can he con for evil? Keep at home. Doesn't know what that precept is. Neither did he keep it at home.
I think it's Habakkuk 2 and 5.
Is it Habakkuk 2? Con, yeah, you're right. Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 5. Yea, also because he transgresses by wine.
All his philosophies, man, all his unrighteous decrees, right? His blasphemies, right? And people buying to this because what they see power, and people are attracted to power, and they think power has to do with dictatorship. right? Like it's like godlike, which in a sense it is, right? But it's not the true power. The true power belongs to the Israelites, man, under Yahushua,
That's right.
right? So they're attracted to the left-hand side of the Lord,
Right.
because the right-hand side truly wasn't meant for them anyways.
Yep.
I'm thinking of the scripture, evils multiplied, at the introductory of this man, because the scripture says there, that was read, that he became, he exalted against the,
He's also
Prince-
against the
yeah,
most.
yeah, that scripture, I couldn't think of it, but I was just, I'm thinking, Salaki brothers, about the evils multiplied as soon as he was introduced, this ram with a notable horn,
Mhm.
right? And evils multiplied, right? When he came in, that was the whole point of that, right? And we're seeing that. That's what is simply being broken down. Is he magnified himself against the Prince of Hosts? I just want to bring that out. I'm looking for that precept. It's here in the Apocrypha.
No, yeah,
Right.
we're gonna get it. We're gonna get it. Don't worry.
Oh, okay.
That's the
Salaki,
next
right.
precept.
It has to come out. Yeah, go ahead, brother. Salaki, go ahead.
No, all good. Habakkuk 2 and 5, it says, yea, also because he transgresses by wine, he is a proud man,
Mhm.
keepeth at home,
God,
who enlarges his desire as hell.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
so his desire is basically to bring nations down, right? To be tributaries unto him. But if that was all he wants, it's bad, but it's not bad. But he wants to make them in his mindset, and his mindset is profane, man, disgusting.
Mhm.
Look what he's doing right now with the earth. Like he has the rainbow flag, and I saw on the gram today. Like you see how you have the lines, the red, and
Yeah.
your brother saw that post.
Yeah.
The purple at the bottom, and the purple is royalty.
That's
So you
Yeah.
have the red devil on top, and us, the purple, who's royalty at the bottom.
The bottom, yeah.
That's what it's saying in a spiritual
Mhm.
sense,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
He's
Even that,
pushing his sexual profanities worldwide.
Exactly.
That's the stuff. Huh?
Hence, the precept, he transgresses by wine.
Done.
You right?
That flag represents his way of life.
Done.
It says, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who
Mhm.
enlargeth his desire as hell.
Mhm.
Right? It's the whole earth.
Mm-hmm.
And is as deaf.
So that's one of his MO, right? That's one of his AKA death. Esau, the white man, AKA death. He's death, man.
Right.
Everything about his man is a contribution to death. You should subscribe to his ideology, you're gonna die.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's because, and that's how we know, and that that further adds to his blessing.
God,
Right, his blessing was a sword.
that's right.
So, yeah, everywhere he goes, I think the scriptures say that they basically came by violence,
God,
right, into every kingdom and every nation. It says, and is as deaf and cannot be satisfied. You see, so the Lord pursued.
he had his own kingdom.
Yeah,
Exactly. The Egyptian.
exactly. Has his own kingdom, but wants more. And that shows you this devil. That's why Yahushua said, if the Most High didn't speed up the times, he would have did it with all flesh,
God, including himself.
including himself. Exactly, because this man is not satisfied. Right? Here, the Lord gave him the whole world, and he still wants more. And cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations.
Who is
Mm-hmm.
that talking about? Right? Who is it talking about?
That's right.
Yeah. You have all colors on this side of the earth calling himself one. I'm Canadian. I'm American. You know what I mean? Everybody's American. So it shows you it's not a nationality, it's a citizenship.
That's
Right?
right.
Because there's Chinese American, I'm Russian American,
Mhm.
I'm Hawaiian American, Chinese American. It's madness, man.
Yeah.
Confusion. That's
Yes.
what it's called Babylon. Mixing of seeds, man, causes confusion.
Yeah. And it's called Babylon the Great.
That's right.
This is even more. This is greater than the other Babylons, man.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, and heapeth unto him all people, right? And he's done that mainly by, war, through war, finance, and his philosophies. Those three things, right? He's been able to heap onto him the whole world, all the nations. Then, okay, yeah. So that's the point on that. Let me get this in. Let me go here. Actually, pull up another. I'm gonna pull up Second Maccabees, the third chapter here. Or First Maccabees. So this is First Maccabees chapter 3, and verse 26. I'm gonna read down to 33, and it reads, just going into Antiochus, right? That horn that we read about in Daniel chapter 9, Daniel 8 and 9. And out of one of them came forth a little horn, which was exalted, which waxed exceedingly great towards the south and towards the east and towards the pleasant land. And it waxed great even to the hosts of heaven, and it cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground and stamped upon them. That's right. It's talking about the Israelites, right? Primarily Judah, right, which consists of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Hence the whole Hasmonean dynasty with Judas and the Maccabees, right? And it says, yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, right? Ooh, the Levites, the priests, right? When you go into it, right, there was a lot of bribing and basically buying away into the office of the priesthood, all right, during his time by Onias's brother, right, Jason, right, and then you had Simon after him. Those are wicked priests, and basically they were set up to indoctrinate the nation of Israel or Judah at that time in the ways of the Greeks, of the Greek fashion. Okay, and it says, and by him the daily sacrifices were taken away. You see, okay, we had a morning sacrifice and an evening sacrifice, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. Okay, so let's go a little bit into that. First Maccabees chapter 3, verse 26. I'm going to start at, it says, in so much as his fame came onto the king, all the nations talked about the battles of Judas. So Judas Maccabeus. Now when King Antiochus heard these things, he was full of indignation. Therefore he sent and gathered together all the forces of Israel, even a very strong army. He opened all his treasuries and gave his soldiers pay for a year, commanding them to be ready whensoever he should need them. Nevertheless, when he saw that the money of his treasury failed and basically ran out of money and to pay his soldiers, because that was, war was the most expensive, most expensive thing for every king. All right. And it says, and that the tributes in the country were small because of the dissension, right, and plague which had brought upon the land in taking away the laws which had been of old times. You see, so basically, just like back then, he basically went away from doing things how they were set up to do, or how they were set up to be, right, in terms of agriculture, right, money, trade. He did everything, all basically perverted the ways of doing that, and it basically led to him being bankrupt. just like you have today in Babylon the Great.
You have Isaiah 10 speaking about those woe to them that make unrighteous decrees.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. That's right. Verse 30, it says he feared that he should not be able to bear the charges any longer, nor to have such gifts to give so liberally. So he did before, for he had abounded above the kings that were before him. Wherefore, being greatly perplexed in his mind, he determined to go into Persia, there to take the tributes of the countries and to gather much money.
Mm.
Right. So he basically, because he tried to take over Egypt and wasn't able to, and he went to these other countries and took all their treasuries.
A thief,
Get a phone.
right? The thief coming to destroy and to kill, man.
That's right.
Right?
Okay, and that's the exact same thing these Edomites are doing to these other countries today.
Well,
Right.
that's what World War One was about. Is about Germany feeling left out by the other countries about this taking the support of Africa.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And that's what kicked it off, and that's what they don't talk about it, but that's what kicked off the fight with the First World War.
Gone.
About who's going to be the biggest thief.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep, bankers' wars.
Hmm. Yeah, because here, when you read about it, it shows you why he went into Persia, right? In First Maccabees 1, it's 1 is 16, or 1 and 1. First Maccabees 1 and 16. It reads, now when the kingdom was established for Antiochus, he thought to reign over Egypt, that he might have the dominion of 2 realms. Wherefore he entered into Egypt with a great multitude and chariots and elephants and horsemen and great navy, and made war against Ptolemy, the king of Egypt. But Ptolemy was afraid of him and fled, and many were wounded to death. Thus they got the strong cities. Slack I said that he didn't end up capturing Egypt, but he actually did. Thus they got the strong cities in the land of Egypt, and he took the spoils thereof. So this is basically where he got into doing all the wickedness he did in Jerusalem. It says, and after that, Antiochus has smitten Egypt. He returned again in the 100th and 40th and 3rd year, and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude, and entered proudly into the sanctuaries, and took away the golden altar and the candlesticks of light, and all the vessels thereof, and the table of the showbread, and the pouring of vessels, and the vials, and the censers of gold, and the vial, and the veil, and the crowns, and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off.
So you see how their cathedrals look today, like all gold and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That was nothing compared to what ours look like, man.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Man's go and
Yeah, man.
jam it.
Yeah, he went in there like, yo, I'm here, man. I'm him.
Man, he's pulled up, man.
He pulled up. He said, I'm him. Give me all your gold right now.
He's pulled up.
Yep. And that's a good point, man. Like our temple, because back then a temple was also used as a bank. And when you go into all the nations, because King David had subdued all those nations and was putting them to work. So that temple was filled with all types of gold and silver.
I know how we do when it comes to the gold, man.
Yeah. Right. And it says in verse 24, when he had taken it all away, he went, verse 23, he took also the silver and the gold and the precious vessels, and also he took the hidden treasures which he found, and when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre and spoken very proudly. Therefore there was a great mourning in Israel in every place where they were, so that the prince and the elders mourned, and the virgins and young men were made feeble, and the beauty of women were changed. So Israel was in complete disarray. disarray, man.
And that's going into our customs now, because we know our customs is what, and the law, how we moved was what made us beautiful to the Lord.
Yeah.
So it's not a little woman became ugly. You know what I mean? So, oh, that's why you guys are ugly, because the Bible says, you know, it has to do with our customs. You know, we became ugly to the Lord, man.
Yeah. Well, it's both, right? The women there too they were dressed in rags because they were basically polluted. But then you also have all the immoral acts and sexual acts that
Right.
they were getting into.
Right.
Yep. So going back to Daniel chapter 8, verse 11, I think I'm down there.
Yeah.
Okay. Verse 8, verse 11.
Mm-hmm.
It says, "Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifices were taken away, and the place of the sanctuary was cast down." Right. So again, that goes into the priest. Right. Basically, infiltrated the priest, and then from there trickled down all the Greek fashions of life onto Israel. And a host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression, and it cast down the truth to the ground. Yeah, because you couldn't keep the Sabbath days, right? You couldn't keep any high holy days. We couldn't, if you were playing games or even talking in Hebrew, you know, anything that had to do with our customs, right? We were basically punished for keeping any of those things. All right. So the truth was what? The truth was cast down to the ground, and it practiced and prospered. Yeah. Right. Then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint unto the certain saint which spake. So basically, Daniel was seeing angels talking among themselves, right? 3 angels talking among themselves. How long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice and the transgression of desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden underfoot? You see? So what we're reading, what you read about, what we have read about, and basically you could read First Maccabees, the first chapter, the whole chapter. You could read Maccabees, First Maccabees, the 4th chapter, and basically goes into all the wickedness that Antiochus was forcing our people to do, and also what our people were committing. So even the angels saw this, and they were saying among themselves, "How long is this going to go on for?" You know, that's how bad it was, man.
Right.
It says, and he said unto me, unto 2,000. It says, unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. So this 2,300 days comes to about 6 years and about 2 months, 6 years, 3 months. So from the time Antiochus went to Jerusalem and basically tore down the temple, set up, you know, false idols and all that into the temple, took all the money, all the way up until basically the holiday of Hanukkah, where Judas Maccabees went back into the temple. They fortified the temple, cleaned it up again, right? Set up the menorah, the candlesticks. That was about 6 years and 6.5 years, 6 years and 3 months. Okay, until that's what that's talking about, until the sanctuary be cleansed again. Okay, and then basically, so that's basically the chapter. But I mean, I'll read the rest of it just to finish off this lesson. But basically, the rest of it just breaks down the vision that he had. So Daniel chapter 8 and 15, it says, interpretation of the vision. And it came to pass when I, Daniel, had seen the vision and sought for the meaning, then behold, there stood before me as the appearance of a man. and I heard a man's voice between the banks of Ulai, which called and said, Gabriel, make this man to understand the vision. So, Daniel was on a high level, man, basically. You had an angel talk to Gabriel, tell Gabriel to make Daniel to understand the vision. So he had came near where I stood, and when he came, I was afraid, and I fell upon my face. But he said unto me, understand, son of man, for at the time of the end shall be the vision. Now, as he was speaking with me, I was in a deep sleep on my face towards the ground, but he touched me and set me upright. He said, behold, I will make thee know what shall be in the last end of the indignation, for at the time appointed, the end shall be. And we're here at that end, man. We're at the end of the end, really.
Mhm.
The ram's identity. The ram which thou sawest having two horns are the kings of Media and Persia. The goat, and the rough goat is the king of Grecia, and the great horn is the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king, right? Which goes into what's his name?
The father.
Yeah, Philip.
Philip, come.
Goes into Philip, right? Now that
real quick, just for those at home, the term media, which goes back to Japheth, right? That's a good little study for you guys to look up who Japheth is. The Japhethites are media, and the Persians is Elam. Okay, going into that name change again, right? And that, of course, that it's good to know that, because here this Grecia goes back to the Edomite Greeks, which is Alexander and his people when the Edomites came into power. So that's for the record. Go ahead, brother.
Well, Melder, I don't think Elam came out of Japheth, though.
No,
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Okay, slack at it.
Oh, no, I said that's their name change. Because they were Elam. They're the Elamites. They're the Elamites, the Persians, and the media. But again, it's just for those guys to go and look that up to understand, right? And of course, the Persians are the more powerful, which are really Elamites, right? But the elders don't go into that breakdown. And simply put, these are all Shemitic nations. The Lord used Shemitic nations, and the wickedest one is of the heathen is what we're going into right now, or finishing off with rather, which is the goat one, the Edomites.
Yeah.
But yeah,
basically, like we said earlier,
Salakia, media goes back to Japheth. Excuse me, it's the Elam who's a Shemitic nation. Salakia. Let me just be clear on that.
That's
Go ahead.
Get you to say.
When you go into the history, like we said earlier, the Edomites went in there and kicked them out.
Yeah,
the Edomians went in there and kicked them out.
Mm-hmm.
Like the people right now on reservation,
right?
Nothing new under the sun, man.
Exactly. And the rough goat is the king of Grecia, and the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. So his father Philip.
Mm-hmm.
Now that being broken, whereas four stood up for it, four kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power.
Mm-hmm.
And in the latter time of their kingdom, when the transgressors are come to the full, a king of fierce countenance, understanding dark sentences, shall stand up, and his power shall be mighty, but not by his own power, and he shall destroy wonderfully, and shall prosper and practice and shall destroy the mighty and the holy people. So that's Antiochus. Antiochus the fourth, to be Antiochus Epiphanes the fourth, to be exact. Verse 25, and through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall, right? Because we read about him setting up gymnasiums, right? Exercises and all that stuff.
Yeah. Evils multiplied when this character, these characters start to come. Sorry, go ahead, brother. Yep.
Yeah, it even says here, right? It says in First Maccabees 1 and 136, for it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary and an evil adversary to Israel. Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary and defiled it. In so much that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them, whereupon the city was made an habitation of strangers, and became strange to those that were born in her, and her own children left her. It's like today, man. We got over there, you got 3 nations, okay, over there in the land, fighting over it as to who it rightfully belongs to, right? You got the Edomites, and you got the Ishmaelites, and who are the other ones? The Elamites.
You got Elamites. You got those
Ishmael.
those Cushites.
Yeah, Khan.
Masquerading as us too. You know.
Yeah, that's right.
Ashas.
So it's not even just 3, man. It's a couple of them. A couple nations in there.
No.
It says her sanctuary was laid waste like a wilderness. Her feasts were turned into mourning. Her Sabbaths into reproach. Her honor into contempt. Finishing off here, Daniel 8:26, and the vision of the Spotsman destroy. Oh yeah, let me finish this up. Verse 25, and through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. Right, because it says that Antiochus came by peace at first, and just like they always do, they go back to all their all their treaty agreements, basically. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand.
Laser beam.
Yeah, man. Yeah, chariots, all of it, man. Yeah. And he's going to do the exact same thing again this time. That's what he's doing. And the vision of the evening and the morning, which was told, is true. Wherefore, shut up the vision, for it shall be for many days. And I, Daniel, fainted and was sick certain days. Afterwards, I rose up and did the king's business, and I was astonished at the vision, but none understood it. All right. So yeah, Daniel basically bugged out seeing all that, man. He even got sick. All right. So that's Daniel chapter 8. Hopefully this was edifying and brought clarity to Daniel the 8th chapter. Do brothers have any lasting statements or precepts? Khan. Beautiful. So, yeah, once again, Lord willing, we hope this was edifying to the hopeful elect. Shalom and Tawada to the brothers on the common board, all right, that participated and posted precepts. We're going to close this lesson by giving all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh.
Hashem.
All right, and double honors to the apostles and also great millstone who rule well and has taught this word in truth and sincerity, and peace and mercy to the hopeful elect. They're also pushing this word in truth and sincerity across the four corners of the earth, as well as your sisters too. So we're going to say Abba Babal.
Abad Babal.
And lower into the next live lesson, we say Shalom to the hopeful elect.
Shalom to the hopeful elect.